What if I told you that your lack of sexual desire, that low libido that causes you so much shame and confusion, isn't a flaw? What if this condition, which makes you feel broken and even ask yourself, is God punishing me with no libido, is actually an unmistakable sign that you have been chosen for a much greater task? The counterintuitive statement we will make today is precisely this. God does not punish you with an absence of libido. He gifts you with a concentration of energy that the ordinary world could not possibly contain. You probably know the feeling, an immense force bubbling up inside, but it finds no outlet and manifests as anxiety, apathy, or a silent chaos. You watch the world revolve around passions and relationships while you feel like a spectator, a stranger in your own life. Having no sexual desire places you in a profound isolation, making you question your own vitality and humanity, without understanding that this energy hasn't disappeared. It has merely been redirected for a hidden purpose. Perhaps you've already searched for answers in all the wrong places. Doctors, therapists, online articles, all trying to fix what isn't broken. The shocking truth behind their failure is that they are trying to fix a car engine, when what you have inside you is the reactor of a starship. The problem isn't the lack of sexual energy, but its incredible density. And in this video, I am going to prove it to you. Stick with me, because I am going to give you the secret that no one has ever told you about your state. We will dive into the idea that your soul operates like a massive star, which instead of shining outward, is collapsing inward to generate something infinitely more powerful. You will understand why this collapse can lead you to one of two destinies: a black hole of despair or a supernova of creative energy that will define your entire fate. This video is the map you've been looking for. By the end of it, you will not only understand the truth about your condition, but you will hold the keys to begin the process of libido sublimation, transforming this overwhelming frustration into genius, purpose, and the work of art that is your own life. What you will do with this power is the great question. There is a feeling that few people understand, that of carrying an immense internal energy, a life force that, instead of driving you forward, only creates anxiety and a silent chaos. It's like having a high-performance engine running inside of you, but with no wheels, just vibrating and overheating in place. Many wonder why their energy doesn't flow like everyone else's. The shocking truth behind this is that your soul may be like a massive star. Most stars burn their fuel outward as light and heat, in the form of the passion and desire we see in the world. Yours, however, is different. Imagine that, because it is so dense and carries so much potential, the very gravity of your inner star forces it to collapse inward. This is a violent, hot, and profoundly chaotic process, which explains much of what you feel. In this collapse, there are only two possible destinies. The first is to become a black hole, which sucks all light, hope, and joy into a void of neurosis and depression, where a state of low libido, or even zero libido, seems to be the end of everything. Or, and pay close attention to this, it can explode into a supernova, a manifestation of creative energy, genius, and spiritual insight that illuminates the universe around you. Let me give you a personal example. For years, I lived in black hole mode. Everything I tried to create, every project I started, was sucked away by my own anxiety and self-criticism. The sexual energy was undeniably there, but it was inverted, devouring itself. It was during this time that I would find myself questioning, why do I have no sexual desire? The confusion was immense, and the feeling of being broken, of being a mistake of nature, was a constant companion. Little did I know that this lack of external desire was, in fact, a symptom of something much larger accumulating internally. The secret that no one ever told you is that this energy didn't disappear. It was recalled. For souls with a different destiny, this primary force is too intense to be spent on common pursuits. It refuses to be externalized superficially. It is as if the universe said, "For you, this raw material is too valuable. It will be used to build a new world, not to warm the old one." What many see as asexuality or a problem to be fixed could be one of the signs of a spiritual awakening, a call to a much deeper and more demanding inner journey. This is where it will all make sense for you. If this energy is not being released outward, where is it going? The question that echoes in the minds of those who experience this is, what to do with pent-up sexual energy? Because if it is not directed, this colossal force doesn't just sit still. It needs a channel. Without a conscious purpose, it begins to leak into the basements of the psyche, feeding what you refuse to see. It descends into the dark, locked attic of your mind, where something ancient and hungry is waiting. So where does all this sexual energy go when it collapses inward and finds no escape? It doesn't disappear. It doesn't evaporate. It goes straight to the locked attic of your psyche, that place you rarely visit, where your shadow lives. Think of your shadow not as a monster to be fought, but as a hungry ghost. It is made from the remnants of everything you have denied in yourself. Your secret ambitions, the anger you swallowed to be polite, the desires that society taught you to label as dirty and to question, is God punishing me with no libido? The big problem is that the more you ignore this ghost, the louder it scratches at the door. These scratches are the intrusive thoughts that come from nowhere, the anxiety that tightens your chest for no apparent reason, the disturbing dreams that haunt your nights. The brutal truth is, you can't exorcise it. Trying to fight it is like trying to erase a shadow with more darkness. You only make it larger and more shapeless. The only way out, the only path to peace, is what we call shadow work, an act of courage that most people will never even consider in their lifetimes. If this resonates with you, wait until you hear the next step. The work is not to cast out the ghost, but to go up the stairs, with the lantern of consciousness in hand, open the attic door, and calmly ask, what do you want to eat? It's hunger, this chaotic energy that torments you, is actually your greatest fuel. The secret that no one tells you is that your frustration is a map. Shadow integration isn't about destroying what haunts you, but about asking what that haunting came to teach you, and finally, integrating that force into your conscious life. Let me give you a personal example. For a long time, my dreams were my terror. They were scenes of violence, bizarre situations, endless chases. Waking up was a relief. This went on until one day, exhausted from running, I decided to stop and started to write about them. Every morning I would feed the ghost with my attention, describing every horrifying detail. And then, something miraculous happened. It stopped screaming and began to tell me stories. Those stories became the foundation of all my creative work. This process of libido sublimation is deeply personal, and by its very nature, solitary. No one can climb the stairs to your attic for you. While the world outside lives its life, you are in a silent dialogue with the most disowned parts of yourself. This journey inevitably creates a distance, a sense of separation. You begin to realize that, although surrounded by people, you operate on a different frequency. You breathe a different air. It is a type of isolation that leads us directly to the next stage of this journey. The journey into the attic of the psyche, this intense shadow work, places you in a state of profound isolation. But the solitude of this path is different, and this is where it will all make sense for you. Imagine yourself as a deep-sea diver, wearing a heavy lead diving suit. Up on the surface, at the coral reef, life vibrates with color and movement. These are the people falling in love, celebrating, living the natural expression of their sexual energy. You see all of this, but you are separate, contained within your own world, where the mission is different. Inside this diving suit, the experience is different. The sound of the world arrives muffled. Conversations seem distant and irrelevant. You breathe a different air, the air of your own introspection. And, most importantly, you are constantly aware of the crushing pressure of the deep, the weight of your journey, of your dark night of the soul. It is brutally lonely, a feeling that makes you question everything, including whether, is God punishing me with no libido? This separation is what distinguishes mere physical loneliness from the journey of the soul's diver. The fundamental difference between solitude versus loneliness. But here is the secret that the fish at the reef will never see. And stick with me until the end, because this is important. It is only in this pressurized darkness that certain treasures reveal themselves. What they will never see are the bioluminescent creatures of the soul, the abyssal truths about yourself and the universe, and the sacred silence of the inner ocean. Having no sexual desire directed outward gives you the necessary oxygen for this exploration. Your energy is not being spent at the reef. It is propelling you downward, into the mystery, into true self-knowledge. Let me give you a personal example that illustrates this perfectly. I remember a Christmas years ago. The house was full. I was surrounded by family, laughter, and conversations. Yet I had never felt so alone in my entire life. It was a sharp, cutting pain. But in the midst of this anguish, a shattering clarity came. I realized that I was no longer on the surface with them, and that it was okay. My mission was elsewhere. My quest was at another depth. In that moment, the painful loneliness began to transform into a solitude with purpose. However, there is an immense danger in these depths, a truth that many who begin this journey ignore. Being a diver is an action, a conscious exploration. It is not a passive drowning. Simply being in the deep does not guarantee that you will find the treasures. Without intention, without a conscious direction of this energy, the heavy lead suit that protects you can become your coffin. The pressure that should forge a diamond can simply crush you. And this is where the compass becomes the most important item on your journey. And here, at this point in the journey, we arrive at the most brutal truth of all, the rock against which many great souls have been shipwrecked. This transformation is not automatic. Stick with me, because understanding this is the difference between salvation and ruin. Simply having no sexual desire or going through a dark night of the soul does not automatically turn you into a saint or a genius. Without clear intention, you are not a diver exploring the depths for treasure. You are just a man slowly drowning inside a heavy suit. Your immense internal energy, when undirected, becomes a broken compass. Think about it. The needle, which is your potent, transmuted sexual energy, should point firmly toward your creative or spiritual north, toward your great work, your purpose. But in a state of passivity, it just spins wildly. You feel a potential for everything, but you cannot move toward anything. This internal confusion is the first sign that the energy, instead of being prepared for creation, is beginning to stagnate. Apathy is the sign that the compass needle is no longer spinning. It's stuck. This is the real danger. It's when you start to feel like a ghost in your own life, watching everything from a distance, feeling neither the chaos nor the passion. It's a dangerous silence, which many mistake for peace. It is not peace. It is the stillness of a ship stranded in a windless sea. It's your creative energy turning into a swamp, a breeding ground for resentment and despair, the very black hole we feared from the beginning. If this resonates with you, know that the path demands conscious effort. The question, how to turn frustration into creativity, is not a lament, it is a call to action. It is your consciousness crying out for a direction. The signs of a spiritual awakening might put you on the road, but they don't drive the car for you. To expect the transformation to happen on its own is the most common mistake. You must take this energy by the hand and give it a task, a focus, a clear and unequivocal direction. So the fundamental question becomes, how do we fix the compass? How can we give a north to this frantic needle and turn hunger into fire? This isn't about positive thinking or a vague decision. It's about building something. You need a workshop, a laboratory, a sacred place where this raw energy can be worked. You need to become a craftsman, an alchemist, and build a forge to contain and finally shape this power. And it is exactly how to build this workshop that we will talk about now. So, how do we fix the compass and finally give a purpose to all this power? The answer is surprisingly practical. You need a workshop. a place to work this energy. For some, this workshop is a painter's canvas or a musical instrument. For others, it's the blank page of a journal, the lines of a programming code, the framework of a new business, or even a charity project. The truth is that you must give this energy a job. This is the definitive answer to the question, what to do with pent-up sexual energy. This is where you stop being the victim of your energy and become its master. You must become the alchemist who looks at this primal hunger, at this internal chaos, and says with firmness, "You will no longer devour me. From this day on, you work for me. You will heat my forge." This act of will is the pinnacle of libido sublimation. It's about taking the lead of your pain, your anxiety, your loneliness, and using the fire of your collapsing star to transform it into gold, into something of value, beauty, and power. If you don't know where to start, begin with the simplest thing. Get a notebook and commit to writing 3 pages every morning without judgment. This is what Julia Cameron calls morning pages in her book, The Artist's Way, a powerful tool. Or channel this energy into the body. Start practicing a martial art like jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, or run until the world is reduced to nothing but your breath. Choose one arena, any arena, and show up every single day. Consistency is what teaches the energy to flow where you point it. Let me give you my most honest example, my truth. This channel, this microphone, this camera, this is my workshop. All the anxiety, all the crushing loneliness of the diver, all the stories the ghost whispered to me in the attic. I no longer fight them. I bring them here, to this forge. And together this energy and I, we build something. We transform chaos into clarity, pain into a map, so that others can navigate their own depths. This is the final destiny of the collapsing star. The workshop is what ensures it becomes a supernova. It is the conscious act of creation that turns the violent implosion into an explosion of light that can guide others. The path that began with the painful question, "Why do I have no sexual desire?" finds its glorious answer. It was not a lack, but a concentration. It was not a punishment, but a preparation. You were not emptied. You were filled with the raw material to become the creator of your own universe. Now the map is in your hands. The silence in your libido was not a void, but a vacuum of power being formed. The anxiety was not a defect. It was the heat of your collapsing star. The loneliness was not a punishment. It was the diving suit preparing you for the depths. You are not broken. You are in an alchemical process. All the knowledge we have shared today serves a single purpose: to awaken you to the immense creative power that was placed within you, disguised as a burden. But knowledge by itself is just more weight in your luggage if it is not converted into action. Therefore, the question I leave you with is no longer why me, but rather, what will I do with this? What is your workshop? What will be the canvas, the code, the business, the project, the work of art that you will feed with the fire that almost consumed you? Will you honor this energy and build your supernova? Or will you let the compass stay broken and passively drown in apathy? Be provocative with your own life. Challenge your passivity. The most important choice of your journey happens now, in the silence after this video ends. So I ask you, declare your intention. Use the comments below as the first brick in your workshop. Write what your first step will be, no matter how small. Will it be a notebook, a course, a conversation? Put your intention out into the world, because the act of declaring is the first step of creation. If this message resonated in the depths of your soul and offered you a glimpse of hope and purpose, know that our journey together is just beginning. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we do not offer easy answers. We explore the complex maps of the soul. Continue learning to transform the lead of your pain into the gold of your destiny. Until next time.